Because the human nervous system does so much and has so many different parts, it is classified both structurally and functionally. The structural classification has two branches: the central nervous system, or CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, or PNS. The central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord. Together, they act as the integrating and command centers of the nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists mainly of the nerves outside the central nervous system that connect it to the rest of the body. The functional classification of the nervous system is concerned exclusively with the structures of the peripheral nervous system. These are divided into the sensory or afferent division, meaning nerves that convey impulses to the central nervous system, and the motor or efferent division, which includes nerves that convey impulses from the CNS to certain organs and activates muscles and glands in order to bring about a motor response.
By the mid-1970s, scientists were able to extract DNA from any living creature and clone it within bacteria, a process known as genetic engineering. But they were still in the dark about the information within DNA, the long strings of chemical letters that determine our genetic destiny. Then, within a decade or so, scientists learned to manipulate DNA in amazing new ways, which allowed them to crack it open. They learned to find the variations in DNA that mark us as individuals, our DNA fingerprint, which revolutionized police work. They were able to read out the sequence itself, the four-letter software code that serves as the operating system of the cell. But this amazing new DNA technology was in fact the result of combining together some quite simple tricks with DNA. The first such trick is to chop DNA into very precise bits. This is done with bacterial proteins called restriction enzymes, which are programmed to cut DNA in two wherever a particular short sequence of letters occurs. These recognition sites are unevenly distributed, so the resulting fragments differ in length. This symbol represents the simple trick of chopping DNA with a restriction enzyme. Hamilton Smith discovered the first restriction enzyme in the late 1960s.
My work was referred to at one point as a shot that was heard around the world.
And in 1978, it was rewarded with a Nobel Prize.
This lesson will examine how the geography of a region helps to create or inform the culture of the people who live there. The climate of a region also plays an important role in understanding a culture. An area's climate can impact economic activities, the types of clothing people wear, or the style and size of shelter people need to survive the heat, rain, wind, or cold. In the Arctic cold of Sweden's northern Lapland region, some of the indigenous Sami people still hunt reindeer for their survival. When goods are exported by one country and imported by another, it's called trade. To help provide for a society more efficiently, many cultures develop technology. People come together for a variety of reasons, from protesting a government policy to watching a child's baseball game to participating in a lesson or lecture. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam have similar views about good and evil. The holy books of each faith share stories and guidelines intended to influence personal and societal behavior. In some cultures, people devoted to a particular religion or spiritual way of life spend time each day in prayer or meditation.
This is the San Francisco Bay Bridge. It is now lit by 2,000 compact fluorescent bulbs. Over its lifetime, each bulb will save the energy equivalent of 180 kilograms of coal and the emission of a ton of CO2. The local taxpayers will also be saving a ton of money. There are potential savings not only in the way we consume energy, but also in the way we generate it. Normally, when a fossil fuel is burned to power a turbine like this, only 1/3 of the fuel is actually converted into electricity. The rest is wasted as heat. This natural gas-powered generating station in Toronto manages to squeeze over twice as much useful energy out of its fuel. First, natural gas is burned in this turbine to produce electricity. Then the exhaust gases, still containing 2/3 of the original energy, are used to boil water into steam to drive a separate turbine. The steam which comes out of the steam turbine is then passed through this pipe under this stretch of ground and into the building next door, which is an airplane factory. Here, the waste steam is used for heating and to help dry the paint on these jumbo jet wings. This process of burning fuel for both electricity and heat is called cogeneration.
Just before it pupates, the monarch larva stops eating and searches for a secure spot. Once it has found a suitable location, it spins a silk mat onto the surface of the area. It then turns around and attaches the hooks on its hind legs to the silk mat and lets go with all the other legs. When the caterpillar is ready to pupate, the skin behind its head splits open. The skin slides up toward the hind legs as it wriggles. A green chrysalis is revealed, which is formed inside the larval skin. Gradually, the chrysalis hardens into a jade-colored case. This process takes about 10 days at normal summer temperatures. About 12 hours before the butterfly is ready to emerge, the chrysalis begins to darken. When butterflies emerge from the pupa, their wings are crumpled and moist.
he seized on the old populism. That is, that the enemy of ordinary people was the railroads, it's the banks, it's Wall Street, and it's big business. Ronald Reagan took that American populism and, in a brilliant political maneuver, reversed it, and instead of business being the enemy of ordinary people, government was the enemy.
He mythologized the American free enterprise system.
While the Federal Reserve battled inflation with high interest rates, President Reagan stuck to the core beliefs that had helped him achieve victory. Less than a month into office, he outlined his recovery plans to Congress, unveiling an approach that came to be called Reaganomics.
This plan is aimed at reducing the growth in government spending and taxing, reforming and eliminating regulations which are unnecessary and unproductive or counterproductive, and encouraging a consistent monetary policy aimed at maintaining the value of the currency.
The idea was simple enough. Tax cuts would motivate investment and personal spending. Job growth would follow. Revenues would go up, and the budget would balance. Public reaction was mixed.
Reaganomics, I would say, is probably not working.
If you take the highest unemployment since 1929, I would say President Hoover's back in the White House.
It's working for me. I hope it works for other people.
We're going lion hunting. Come here. Closer. 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 Do you see it? The little cones in the soft soil? These are antlion pits. At the bottom of each of these pits, there is an antlion hiding and waiting. The perfect example of an insect that you hardly ever see in action. Despite their small size, the antlion is a ferocious predator. A predator is an animal that eats other animals. And can you guess what the antlion loves to eat? Ants. Once it finds the perfect spot, it starts to dig its deadly trap. When the ant or other small insects come to the edge of the antlion's pit, the sand grains tumble down the slope, causing them to slide down into the pit, into the deadly jaws of the antlion. Once the antlion larva is about 1 centimeter long, it makes a silken cocoon around itself, covered with sand grains to help it hide. Inside the cocoon, the antlion goes through an amazing change called the pupal stage. Adult antlions then emerge from their cocoons. Once their fragile wings have hardened and dried, the antlion is ready to take flight and continue the amazing life cycle of metamorphosis.